Did you know there are Facebook groups for your cruise? Yeah, they can find out all sorts of information. We're going to talk about how you can make the most of those Facebook groups. That's today on the Diz Unlimited's DCL show. Hello and welcome to the Diz Unlimited's DCL show. I'm Chris Forbeck, one of the agents at Dreams Unlimited Travel. Thank you so much for being here. Did you know there are Facebook groups that for your specific cruise, the one you're going on? Yeah, they're all over the place, and they can be really helpful. I initially had this described as the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it's not really. That's not really what we're trying to accomplish. What we're trying to give you in a sense is to what makes sense and where these work really well. And there are some places that they don't work really well. So we're going to go through all of that. With that, let me bring in my colleague, Dreams Unlimited travel agent, Elaine Edwards. Hello, Elaine.
Hi, friends.
And of course, we have our amazing producer, Jimmy Valdez. And Jimmy, thanks as always for being here.
Hi, thank you.
And thank you, of course, for being here. Really appreciate it. We get a lot of talk about these Facebook groups and how they're, and as agents, we get a lot of questions about the big ones are, I'm seeing people got their labels, their luggage tags, and I haven't received mine yet, things like that. We're going to go through Facebook groups and how they work and where they work well. But first, let me just say that this show, along with everything we do at the Diz Unlimited, DCL fan, UO fan, it's all brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. We are experts at helping you plan a magical Disney cruise. Visit a amazing Disney theme park, your Universal adventure, epic universe, even other cruise lines. There's no additional cost to book with Dreams Unlimited Travel, none. But we're going to give you insights about your Disney cruise ship, your destinations, your Disney trip, parks, help you with touring plans, all those kinds of things, your Universal trip. This is what we do, and we love doing it. So by booking your cruise with Dreams Unlimited Travel, you get a shipboard credit of up to $1,000, depending on the price of your cruise. And I always hear people say you don't get nothing for free. Well, this is one of these cases where you get free money to spend on board, and it doesn't cost you a penny, so not a bad deal. Best way to get started, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And I also always like to mention, by way of transparency, Elaine and I are Dreams Unlimited travel agents. This is our job. But we also love doing what we do. We love Disney. We love Disney Cruise Line. And we want you to have the best time possible. So we're here to give you information so you can make the best decision for you and your family. And as Disney fans, we all know that sometimes the people who love this stuff a whole bunch can be the most critical. We try and be as objective as we can. The one thing is we love this. We love these cruise lines, cruise ships. So, but we always hope you book with Dreams if it allows us to do, well, this. And if you don't, we still hope you have an amazing trip. So, Elaine, I'm going to bring up at the top here, and in fact, we just saw this, but the Disney Destiny coming out in has its inaugural cruise in November. And of course, Spider-Man on the back of the ship. We got our first pictures of Spider-Man. We saw the model, but we haven't seen it on the ship, and we now can see it on the ship. How cool. This is their big figure, and it's kind of Spider-Man, and he's shooting webs at, if you've done the attraction in Disneyland where you're firing at these little spider bot kind of things, it's a bunch of spider bots, and so it's across of course, all the ships have different characters on the aft of the ship, and Spider-Man is on the Disney Destiny, so it's the first non-Disney movie character, and we've had a lot of princesses and Donald and Goofy and Mickey on the Disney Adventure, Mickey and Minnie. So this is a different one, and I think it looks great. So pretty cool. We're very excited about that. Coming up in November, the Disney Destiny set sail, and I'll be on board the early December. I'm trying to coax Elaine to come with me so we can tour it together and see what it's like. So let's talk about Facebook groups. So, Elaine, talk to me a little bit about Facebook groups, because we aren't talking about like DCL fan on Facebook. That's a kind of broad one. There are Reddit pages about DCL, all these that kind of cover Disney. But if you're sailing on, say, the December 3rd Disney Destiny cruise, there is a
Mhm.
Facebook group specifically for that specific itinerary. So that one. And why do people do this? What are the advantages for doing a Facebook group?
So let's just start off by saying this is unofficial. This is not
Correct.
a thing that is put on by Disney Cruise Line. This is an unofficial thing because I do see a lot of people that will put comments on, actual official Disney Cruise Line posts. Well, where can I find my Facebook cruise, my group for this sailing? Well, Disney's not going to answer that question because they're not necessarily encouraging this. But usually somebody 95% of the time, it is a travel agent that will go in, and we'll talk about more about this in probably the bad and the ugly part,
Yeah.
and form these Facebook groups as soon as the cruises are announced and try to encourage people to join them. And that is where people will share information, ask questions, specific to that sailing. And
Yeah.
as Chris said at the top of the show, there's a lot of things you can gain, and there are a lot of misinformation. There is a lot of not so great things.
Yeah.
So, but you have to really just use your judgment. And sometimes you might even find multiple groups for the same sailing. I've had that happen before as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of that stuff, but some of the I always join the Facebook group because I always learn things, and that's part of even doing this all this time and being a Pearl Castaway Club member. I still learn things, and so it's interesting. Sometimes somebody will be doing like a back to back, or just got off the they just got off the Disney Treasure and they're going on the Disney Treasure again, so you can learn something. So it's very helpful for me. You can meet people before you even get on board, so it's a nice way to make some connections. There's a lot of information sharing that goes on. You can talk about people do them for Alaska cruises a lot. Like one of the challenging parts of an Alaska trip is packing, and how do you pack all those pieces. And so there's a lot of discussion around those kinds of things. People talk transportation, cruise scheduling details, excursions. You can get insights into excursions and what people are doing. In one of the groups that I'm in, I'm a Pearl member, so I have visibility into what are the Disney Cruise Line port adventures that are available. As soon as I'm a Pearl, well, if you're 75 days before as opposed to my 100 and something days before, I can share what's available, and so people will do those kinds of things. There are also information about fish extenders, which we'll explain in a minute. There's also pixie dusting. Some people do online meetups. The other area that I've seen it work really well is, and this is particularly with teens, teens may be able to make some kind of connection with somebody and even start maybe having a WhatsApp discussion before they sail. And so sometimes you'll get teens who go, "Oh, I'm going on a Disney cruise." They'll be able to do that even before they cruise. So it's kind of nice. Um, Essentially, how do you find your Facebook group? Just go into Facebook, search your date and your ship, and it should come up. And as Elaine mentioned, there can be more than one group. And sometimes sometimes you can hear different information. We'll talk about that later on in the misinformation part. But there can be multiple groups run by different people. These are not official, and that's so important. Elaine mentioned that right up front. These are not official. And so that's very important to realize. The last area that I would say in terms of benefits is post cruise. If you're you can people share photos, and it may be some photo with Mickey or something, and it's really cool to see, and we can continue those connections. So it can be really fun. And also, like, if you forgot how to, in my groups, I always post the email that I send to guests afterwards with how to get your folio and how to get your photos and those kinds of things. So it makes it a little bit easier, and people can do that kind of stuff. So Elaine, let's talk about some of the not so great things. One clearly is, well, before we do that, let's talk about fish extenders, because this, I think, particularly for people who haven't cruised a bunch, can be, they hear about fish extenders and like, what is a fish extender? So what is a fish extender?
A fish extender is if you have never been on a Disney Cruise Line, sailing before, outside of your door, your room number on the classic ships, not on the Wish class of ships, but on the classic ships, they will have a fish, or I think the other one's a starfish,
Se-
and they face
Seahorse, I believe.
seahorse, okay.
Yep.
And they face the front of the ship, so it's another one of those like navigational things, but they have your room number on them. And they are set out a bit. They're kind of a metal 3D mold. They're set out a little bit from the door so that you can actually hang things on there. Now, the true intention of these is so that Disney Cruise Line can use this to communicate with you. That is where you previously found your room keys on there. We've been hearing now that they've been giving those at check-in instead of putting them on the door, so that may be changing. We happen to be sailing, on our last sailing, we were sailing over Mardi Gras, and so Disney put Mardi Gras beads on our doors to give us those. They will put any excursions or spa appointments or amenity gifts, those kind of things, all of your excursion tickets, all these things, they're going to tuck them behind this fish extender. And I don't know when this started, but the internet is what it is. And they've started now creating these fish extender exchange groups where people will hang like collection, kind of like, think of it as like a fabric shoe rack kind of a thing, where you have
Exactly.
kind of a bucket for each member of your family, and people will gift each other in theirs. And it's very organized in these groups because they will make spreadsheets and divide everybody into groups that, and so you might be in a group of 20 people. That means you bring 20 gifts, and then theoretically you're going to get 20 gifts in exchange. I believe I have heard that recently Disney Cruise Line has been asking people not to do this. They really do not encourage this at all. I have never participated, nor do I want to ever participate. I am an overpacker as it is. I do not need to bring a fourth suitcase to put a bunch of little tchotchkes that are junk that I'm going to throw away when I get home. It is what it is. That is not anything that I am into doing, but people do it. And I know that a lot of people do enjoy it and love it. And I know that a lot of people get disappointed because stuff gets stolen out of their fabric containers, or maybe they'll felt like they put all of this time and effort into these gifts and they didn't get back what they gave. And yeah, so
Yeah.
you
So
can
the Facebook group
do
is
that.
where people often set these things up, and sometimes it's as loose as they set up a Google spreadsheet where people can add their names and stuff. Sometimes it's much more organized. It really depends on. Again, these groups are not created by Disney. They're not official, and they're run by somebody. Again, sometimes a travel agent. It really depends. So their level of organization varies dramatically. And you can generally tell pretty quickly how organized it is. And, is it somebody just creating a space, or if they're going to actually manage it? It really depends. Um, but so it, I also, fish extenders are not my thing. I also, like Elaine, I'm squeezing the kitchen sink into my luggage on that last day, and so I don't have space for that stuff. But if you want to do that, it's a fun way. May raise the trip, and some people really really love it. The other thing you'll hear a lot about are pixie dusting, and this is where particularly I think it's for kids. You'll like put something special in there in on the fish extender usually, or something like that, and it can make it. Again, I'm not doing that, but it's one of the things that people do. All right, let's talk about we talked a lot about why people do it, and there's a lot of good stuff that comes out of it. I will mention one thing that I learned so when I was doing Alaska last summer. We had a big chunk of time between when we got off the ship, of course, which is relatively early, and our flight wasn't until like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So we had this time to fill. And on the Facebook group, there was a discussion about there are post port adventures that are for that day you get off the ship. And so I did an awesome port adventure that gave us a tour of Vancouver. Gave us we went up to the bridge, the suspension bridge that you can walk over in that area. They watched our bags, so they were secure in the bus. But it gave us a whole things to do on that last day that I didn't know about. And again, I do this for work, so I learned something new. That's the kind of thing that if your group is good, you can learn something. They can be really good. Elaine, if they're bad, they can be really bad. And, and we often have to deal with this because one of the biggest things is just the misinformation that goes on out there. It's Facebook, right? It's just the wild west in terms of information. Um, and I mentioned earlier the luggage tag issue. That's one of the things that we're always having to deal with. What other things have you had to deal with in terms of people just hearing things that's not right? And what do you tell them?
Yeah. So, there's a lot of people that they think because they have been on a cruise 12 years ago that they are an expert in cruising, and they may know a lot, but things change. And honestly, with Disney Cruise Line, things change a lot, and announcements don't get made, and they sometimes get changed ship to ship even. And so things will slowly roll out based on one ship or another. And so you may get information from somebody in these groups that is inaccurate. And so you really need to, the things that I think they're good for, like Chris said, asking people about port excursions. What is a good hotel to stay in this city, especially if it's, someplace that's not Port Canaveral. But, what is a good hotel to stay? How are you getting to the port? Like things like these are great. Things like, what I find a lot of times that I think they're very useful is people will put announcements in there whenever they drop Palo
Yep.
reservations. They say, I'm going to cancel my Palo dinner on this date. This is the time today that I'm going to cancel it. And it kind of lets people know. Same with cabanas. When people cancel cabanas, that kind of thing. They kind of make announcements, and that's very helpful. I think that as well, during your cruise, you can sometimes find out timely information. If there has been an emergency going on and we've been delayed or diverted, people will share that information in the group. I think that's very helpful. Or if there's a special, character or meet and greet, something going on, people will talk about that. And I think that's very helpful. But like I said, I think you can get a lot of misinformation. And Chris talked about luggage tags. I have had many a guest email me to say, well, my Facebook group, everybody has gotten their luggage tags but me. And their cruise is 6 weeks away. So I can guarantee not everybody has gotten their luggage tags. We like to say that your luggage tags will come somewhere between 6 weeks before your cruise and 6 weeks after your cruise. You I have had luggage tags come, and they were literally postmarked the day of my cruise.
Yeah.
Like, they may or may not come. And just because somebody got theirs this week, you may not get yours for 3 weeks. Like you do not need to use other people in your Facebook group as a measure of time as far as when something for you will happen. If somebody had if they've booked a room that was in guarantee status and they got assigned and you haven't yet, then maybe, sure, you can be hopeful and say, okay, it might be coming soon, and keep watching, and that's great. But just because somebody else got assigned this week and you didn't, that doesn't mean something's wrong. Everybody is on their own timeline. The same with getting your online check-in approved. I've said this so many times that it will not be approved until usually 3 or 2 days before your cruise. And sometimes people will get approved the day after they submit it. It's okay. It's okay. You're still going on the cruise, I promise. So I think a lot of times things happen in this Facebook group that somebody will see somebody else, something happened or they did something, and then that will cause them panic and freak out because it hasn't happened for them yet. So
It's
just
the It's the FOMO issue that can really come out in these groups and social media generally, and we get it on Disney World too. People see, I want that trip. Well, you know, I've seen people get really over planning anxiety, and one of the things that I often tell people about Disney Cruise Line is don't over plan. Don't have every minute plan, because you're going to miss out on just things that happen on the ship, but also you're not going to know until you get on board and you do the Disney Cruise Line Navigator app. You're not going to know a bunch of stuff that's going on anyway. So my general recommendation to people are use it when it's a benefit. If it starts causing you anxiety, just like say, okay, I'm going to take a break from it. It's not helping you. You can, Disney Cruise Line is lovely. You're going to have a good time, and you don't have to do somebody else's trip. You're going to figure out your trip. And the other parts that I've seen that get really is there can be spoilers, things that people say. There can be like cliques that form. And sometimes we mentioned people who have done other cruise lines who tell you how to do Disney Cruise Line. Well, Disney does it differently than a lot of other cruise lines. So that's why we do what we do, because it is a unique, some of the things are the same, some of the things are different. You can also get people who've Disney cruised a lot, and they'll tell people how they need to cruise. You're going to figure out how you need to cruise, and it's give yourself that opportunity. Use it if it's helpful. If it's not helpful, you don't have to use it. You can do an amazing Disney cruise and not have to use a Facebook group. You will be fine.
I have a really good example of people in Facebook groups and misinformation and assumptions.
Yeah.
I have a client that I am working with, and they are on the Fantasy next spring. And as we know, at the end of the summer, the Fantasy is going to be going into dry dock, and some things are going to be happening. And we believe that there's going to be a set of deluxe family verandas that are currently 4As that are going to be converted over to concierge. Well, apparently one of the Facebook groups must be just really running amok with this, because it was the way that my client brought it to me is that it seems like she was under the impression from the Facebook group that all of them midship in deck 10 would become concierge. And so you're talking about that's like 70, 80 rooms. No, they're not all becoming concierge. And okay, so they're going to become concierge. That means if we're booked in this room, we're going to be concierge. We don't have to pay for it. Well, no, not necessarily. Like, so there's a lot of us, like, I don't know what's going on in the Facebook group, but a lot of people are really running with this. It seems like. And so I told her, there's a lot of scenarios that could happen. It's like, yes, your room might become concierge, or it might not become concierge. They're going to probably take some of them. They're not going to take all of them, because then you're talking about way too many. You're talking about 150 concierge rooms. That's not going to happen. So that can happen. And if you are already booked in that room, yes, you might be given concierge. They might keep you at non-concierge. They might ask you to up pay. They may move you to another room. We don't know until Disney makes that announcement what is going to happen. And so, and then there was another scenario that she brought up she asked, do we think that Disney is holding back those rooms and not selling them until after they become concierge? Well, we don't know. We don't know any of that until Disney releases that information and tells us. Right. But it does seem like there is a Facebook group that is really running wild with a lot of assumptions and information about this block of rooms on midship deck. Go through all of those scenarios, and I told her, this is all the things that could happen. We don't know until they make that announcement. But what I like to tell my clients is, this is a very good example of there's a lot of information that people are saying and assuming and downright misinformation and that kind of thing. Now, I cannot say that for every travel agent, but I can say, as far as me and booking Disney cruises goes, 98% of what I tell you, I know to be fact. And that other 2% is me talking to somebody else that I believe to be true. So if you have any sort of question, please talk to your travel agent. Please, please, please talk to your travel agent, because they are going to be able to find out facts for you rather than assumptions. So, yeah.
And I'm not doing this as an ad basis. I'm saying, what we do as a team, as the Dreams team, is when somebody gets back from a cruise, they kind of download, hey, here's what I saw that was different. Here's what I saw that was that surprised me, because we are doing this all the time. And so we share that kind of information and and it's a great way to let folks know what's going on. So we make sure we know what we hear from Disney, but we're also hearing from our team of agents, and we're cruising all the time. So it's we're always trying to parse that. Also, if you reach out to us, we're going to check. So we're going to say, hey, do you have a sense? We're talking to Disney all the time. So do you have a sense as to what's happening with these? I have a client who says all these are being turned into, is this rumor? Is this fact? What happens? And so always check it out. Don't hold that anxiety, and let us figure out the path forward, right? A couple
Yeah.
other issues that can
Really be like self-absorbed, but it kind of always reminds me of the meme with Ron from Parks and Recreations, where it's like, I know more than you. It's like, I'm like, I know more than these people. And there's a lot of times that your Dreams agent, like, we know more than the people on Disney Cruise Line that are answering the phones. Because, there are a lot of those people that are answering the phones that have never been on a Disney ship before. And unfortunately, they're just people in a call center that are answering the phones. And there's sometimes that they give wrong information. So trust us. We're telling
Yeah.
you the right thing. So
There's a chunk of those folks that are awesome and have said, hey, do this, do that. But there are some, like anything, it all depends. The other areas that can come up it's Facebook, right? You can get drama. You can have people fighting over things that just don't matter. You can get things, people will get angry. I saw one the other day. In fact, I shared this with Elaine, where apparently in Europe, you can get permission for your kid because the drinking age is different than it is in the US. So you can allow your kid to have, if you have a 19-year-old, they can drink on a Disney ship if it's overseas. And people were just berating this person. In fact, it was Scott over at Disney Cruise Line blog who posted it, and they were berating, calling him a terrible parent for allowing. Like, okay, yuck. I mean, that wasn't a Facebook group. That was just Facebook generally. But, everyone's doing the best they can. So you can get a lot of judgmental tone. You can get some toxic folks. Sometimes the administrator of the group isn't great. My friend Sam over at the DCL Duo podcast was talking when we traveled in Norway together, and there were two Norway groups, and one wouldn't allow anything that wasn't specifically related. Like if you talked about, okay, how are you getting to the port? That wasn't specific, and she would block that out. So you can get all sorts of weird issues. The other thing that is really important is it's great to share. Be careful about your privacy. Because you don't want to share more. And I've been seeing stuff on. I'm now an AARP member. How awesome am I? But I got an alert from them saying on these kind of Facebook groups, people are getting information and then using it in a way that So just be safe, be smart, be safe, be cognizant of what you're doing. If something's getting toxic, take a break from the group. You're going to have a fine cruise if you don't do it. When they work, they're really, really great and can be really, really helpful for your trip. But if they're not working, don't do it. You don't have to do it. What I always tell folks is do your vacation. Don't have the FOMO. Don't and when in doubt, trust DCL, trust us. We're going to share. We really want you to have the best time possible. We're not going to try and hey, this is not a psych job. We're going to try and help you however we can. So just It sounds silly, but I don't like the phrase common sense because so many people say it about stuff that I don't think is all that common and doesn't make much sense. But use some common sense in these situations. Elaine, anything else you wanted to add?
Yes, yes. So I have several things in this realm. As far as like the groups, like you said, a lot of these are started by travel agents, and they will start, to the best of my knowledge, there is no Dreams Unlimited travel agent that has started one of these groups, to the best of my knowledge at this current time. So and I'm not trying to speak ill of other travel agents, but I do know that some of them do have ill intent, because they will see that once Disney Cruise Line releases their itineraries, they will go through and they will make a whole bunch of these groups, even if they're not sailing on them, with the intent to gain clients. And I have seen travel agents within these groups not allow any other travel agent to join their group.
Yep.
Even if they're sailing on the sailing, we get blocked from the group and we can't join that, because they think that we are going to try to take clients. They will, when people join it, they will say, hey, if you change your reservation to me and let me have your reservation, then I'll give you shipboard credit, or whatever. And then when they get back, they try to get everybody to get their placeholders to be assigned to this travel agent, and it's just, so that's not great behavior. If that is your business model, that is your business model. It's not my business model. I do also know there are a lot of people that join these groups that are there to sell their t-shirt designs, that they are, again, not on this sailing, but they are on there, and they will make a post, and it'll be a very generic looking t-shirt, and it'll say, Disney Dream November 2nd, with just an anchor, and like that's it. And it'd be like, I just ordered these for my family, here's the link. Well, you didn't order these for your family, you own the site, and you're trying to glom off on us.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, lots of that stuff, and their cruise line air fresheners and their shoes and like all of this stuff. So watch out for this kind of stuff. Additionally, as far as safety concerns, I am a very cautious person. I would never ever put my stateroom number in one of these groups. I don't say anything about, really, I don't comment a lot unless somebody is putting something that is very factually incorrect, and I will correct them. But I try not to put any information out there as far as where I personally will be. And my kids, absolutely no way. I do not have my kids' names, nor would I ever add them to any WhatsApp chat, any Excel spreadsheet of, my kids are this age and they're going to be in this kids club, or they're going to be at this meetup at this time. Absolutely no way I would ever do that. I have 3 boys. They're all over 6 foot at this point. Nobody's going to be killing them and taking them off the ship.
They're very
But
good at taking care of themselves.
like, I don't think that that's like, I just watched the Amy Bradley thing yesterday, so I have that in my mind.
Yeah.
But it's like, I still would never do that with any of my kids. There is a real thing going on now, that it's happening a lot in Royal Caribbean Facebook groups, but it could easily happen in a Disney Facebook group, that people are getting information as far as, they can see your name and they can see you're on this sailing. Well, they can do a small internet search and they can find out your address and all of this information.
Right.
They are actually calling people and saying, hey, you have this balance due of $300, when their cruise is like a week away. They say, hey, you have this balance due of like $300, you need to pay this. And so the person will pay it, and there has nothing to do with Royal Caribbean at all, until they're getting this money, and they are actually calling Royal Caribbean now and like canceling their cruises. People's cruises are getting canceled because they are putting out too much information in these Facebook groups and sharing too much information, and people with ill intent are scamming them.
The other thing
There is
that's
just
not that nefarious, yeah, there's awful stuff that happens, and I feel bad because it sounds like we're making these sound like terrible places. They're not. As I said, there have been a bunch of great things, and I've met great people through these Facebook groups, and particularly the Alaska one was a group of really good people who were helping each other. It was awesome. It was a great thing to do. One of the other things that people are doing, and this is again not as nefarious, but they'll, if you do put your stateroom number and they have your last name, what they were doing was getting the drive for 5:45 dining, and they'd connect themselves to your reservation so they could get the 5:45 dining and get out of 8:15 dining. And so now Disney's had to add layers of security so that that doesn't happen. And you didn't even know that this was happening. So just be smart, be cautious. These can be very valuable. If it's not being valuable, get out. Don't do it. It shouldn't. If it's not adding to your trip, stop. And we're here to work with you. Your dreams agent or any travel agent wants to work with you. We want you to have a great time. And that if Facebook is feeling crazy, reach out to. One of my favorite things is when people call me and say, "Oh, we got this," and they're really excited. Particularly at a Disney World, they get a dining reservation that they really wanted. That's really awesome. So then as I said, I think we just have had a lot of stories from things that went awry from these groups, but there are also, it's like the world. We don't hear as much of the good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff that goes on in those groups. That's why they're still around. So, Elaine, anything else we want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of put it into I think we've kind
Context.
of given a general idea. I think the big thing is just be careful. Ask one of us if you have a question, ask your agent, ask Disney Cruise Line if you have a question as far as if something is true or not. Know that not every person in this group is on your cruise. Just, it is what it is. I
And
experienced
just
this like, because if I changed we actually, when we went on our Lookout Key preview cruise, so I originally was in the inaugural Lookout Key cruise Facebook group, and then our group changed and we got moved to this like pre cruise, and so I joined that group, but I kept the other one, and so I had both of them, and I noticed a lot of people that were in both groups, and I
yeah.
know that they were not sailing on both of these. So it's, yeah.
And it's and just to be clear, when we were talking about the concierge and changes on the Disney Fantasy, Disney is not going to change a stateroom to concierge and said then come to you. They're not going to bait and switch you. They're not going to then come and say you have to pay this additional because we changed this stateroom to concierge. Right? That's not going to happen. Who knows what's happening? Who knows if it's even going to be a concierge? You may get to stay in a room that's styled around concierge now, but they still classify it as a 4A or 4 whatever. So it'll be fine, really. So don't panic. It's that's my just don't panic. It's supposed to be fun, and planning your trip is supposed to be fun. So with all of that, we're gonna bring this in, and sorry, my phone's going off. I shut it off, but still did. With that, we're gonna bring this ship to shore. With all that said, we'd love for you to book with Dreams Unlimited Travel. Really, literally, it helps what we do here. And I'll tell you, I was a Dreams client before I was a Dreams agent, so I know the value. The best place to start, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. You'd select Disney Cruise. The first page will ask you your itinerary and your cruise. I got somebody who asked me the other day, I'm not sure which cruise I want. There's a section that says anything else we want to know. Just put that in there and we can look at multiple dates. And what often helps is if you share with us, like, is money the big difference? Is it, just let us know. And we're here to help you and find your best spot we possibly can. My stepmother keeps trying to reach me. So with that, and by the way, on the second page, you can select a agent. You don't have to. All the Dreams agents are really awesome. But if you want to select Elaine, you just pull down the menu and select Elaine Edwards. Elaine, if that's the best way to reach you, if they want to cruise, if they want to reach you otherwise, how do they do that?
My email is Elaine, it's ELAINE at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
Awesome. And I am Chris V at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. That's Chris V. Also on social media at Yensid Travel. Yensid is Disney spelled backwards. It's the Sorcerer and Sorcerer's Apprentice. There you go. Your Disney trivia for the day. Oh, and I forgot to mention this on our last podcast, but I've added a way that you can reach out to us. You can even leave us a message. You just go to dclshow.com/message and you can record a message and it will come straight to us. And if you have comments, questions, ideas for the show, you can just do it straight from your phone and it's nice and easy. So dclshow.com/message. And thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate it. Special thanks to, as always, our producer, Jimmy Valdez, who makes us look and sound good. I mentioned this earlier, but we were having an issue with getting our podcast on the podcast apps. They're now all there. So you can find it. And if you want to listen rather than watch, Elaine's gorgeous. My face is much better on podcast than it is on YouTube. So on YouTube, if you want to leave us comments, you can show ideas. You can do that on YouTube or DCL Fan, our DCL Fan Facebook page. A bunch of people talking Disney Cruise Line, or you can just send me an email. And as always, please like, subscribe, review. That really helps us with those weird algorithm things. So, all right, I think we're all done with that. Safe travels, and we'll see you real soon.